Good afternoon. Welcome to the 10th edition of Lisbon and Estoril Film Festival. Today and tomorrow we will have the International school meeting. So in the 9 previous years, this school meeting has been done only with European film schools. And this year we have opened it, and we are going to have here film school from the United States, from New York, one of the most famous film schools in the world, the TISH. I thank the schools who are here this year. So besides TISH, we have also the Polish National Film, Television and Theatre School from Lodz in Poland. They are coming for the second time. Thank you for being here with us. And there's one thing in this festival that is kind of a coincidence, or is not, we never know, that we have with us some directors that have attended both of these schools. So Jim Jarmusch and Sarah Driver, they are coming tomorrow to the festival. Tomorrow in the evening we are showing a film by Aaron Bruckner, Angela Howard, about one of the students of TISH in the 80s, Howard Bruckner. And I hope you all go to the cinema to see it. Jim and Sarah will be there as well. And on the other hand, we also have a retrospective, a complete retrospective of Justice Kolimovsky, who attended the school in Lodz. And he's here also, he's a member of the jury for the international competition of the festival. Today and tomorrow we are going to see films from the students of these 2 schools and a Portuguese school, the Lisbon Film and Theatre School. It's the second time, so they have been here in the first edition of the festival, and they are coming again. Thank you a lot. We are going to see films from students of these 3 schools and who are attending also the festival. And we also show some films, so 1 film for each school, for schools that have attended in the previous editions. Tomorrow there will be a debate at the end, and the jury for this short film competition is, and I'm calling them to join me here, are Daniel Rosenfeld, director, Argentinian director, and Lola Peplo, director. You will see tomorrow her short film number 27, and Stanislas Merhar, actor that you certainly know from his roles in Chantal Ackerman's films or Philippe Garrel and many others. Thank you for being with us here. I hope you all enjoy the films, and I hope you attend also the screenings in the theaters where so this venue here is not a cinema venue. It's an ancient theater who has the program as theater, concerts mainly. We will have some other special sessions here tonight. So after showing your shorts, you will have a program with Godard's shorts. Godard is one of the focus of the festival this year. Tonight you can see here, if you want, a film by Godard, the feature weekend. And tomorrow, after your screenings and the debate, we will have Lola's short number 27. And there will be here the screening of a film by Stephanie Argerich called Bloody Daughter. on Saturday, and we will continue this program here on Sunday. But mostly of the program of film is made at Cinema Monumental in Saldanha and Cinema Image. I hope you enjoy the festival and can attend the other screenings. I thank the jury. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, all of you. Once more, the festival wants to show what the schools all over the world are doing, and I think it's important because the next filmmakers will come from all of you, and that's why this attention we gave every year, I think it's one of our aims. This year, I have to like our jury, Stanislas Mehard, one of the greatest French actors. I had the chance of producing a film where he was one of the most, I think the films I like more that I produce, the Chantal Akerman called La Captive, and Cative in Portuguese, and he was the main actor. Daniel Rosenfeld, an Argentinian director that you can see all his work here during the festival, and Lola Peppel, a young director that made a short that you can see just after our discussion. The film is showing at 5:30. And thank you for the schools of New York and Lodz that are here with us. This year, it's a festival that is showing retrospective that one of the greatest directors of modern cinema that started at Lodz, like you know, Jerzy Skolimowski. And if you don't know what his films, please come and see it. And that's all. And I hope you enjoyed to be here and to see the work of the other schools, of yourself, and to discuss after with our jury and between yourselves what is your relation with cinema and why you are trying to learn through the schools what you want to do in your future. Thank you very much and see you later. Thank you.
Come and sit near me. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I have to tell you that at the end of this debate, as you know, this is a festival, and so there is a prize for a winning film. There's a film that actually wins the prize for this Festival in Cinema Schools award. So please be with us and we'll know the film that won this session. These films have been presented yesterday and today, and this happens every year in Estoril Film Festival. And each year we have schools that are specially invited. And the 3 schools invited this year is the Tisch New York School of Arts. It's the first time that we have an international, outside of Europe, not international, outside of Europe school. So although they should be New York voting, we think it's really wonderful that we have Tisch School amongst us. And we have Cinema School, the Portuguese Escola Superior de Teatro e Cinema, and from Poland, the Lodz School. So the films that you've seen today, some of them are from these schools. What I would ask everyone in a brief presentation, both students and teachers, is to make a context of these films. In what academic context have they been produced? And the teachers, I would also think that it would be nice to tell us about how the school works, how many years, to also to understand where do these films come from. Okay, so probably you can start with Lodge School in Poland. Okay.
Hello, I'm Piotr. I'm current Dean of Direction Department, and I have Kalina Labrudzińska, the author of Restless Wanderers, with me here. Thank you for inviting us. I was quite busy with my new duties, but they told me at the school that Lisbon is a must. You have to go. So I came, and I can see that it's really worth coming. Thank you. Obrigado. Our school, we have some long tradition. It's almost 70 years. The school was established by left-wing activists who were linked to universities of Lwów and Warsaw in pre-war times, and after the Second World War, they were allowed by the communist government to establish a school somehow similar to Moscow GIG, but not according to the regime plans. This school became to be a place of free thought. So we could have such graduates like Andrzej Wajda, like Jerzy Skolimowski, who is a member of the jury here, like Krzysztof Kieślowski, and many others. We strongly believe that proper film education should be based on two pillars, and these are documentary and fiction. So we have the same course for directors and two paths, documentary path and fiction path. The studies are 5 years long. They are open to anybody, but they are paid for the foreigners, even from, sorry to say, European Union. Polish citizens study for free. We have some general education, but in my opinion, we should develop this. And getting back to more interesting things for you, film education, we have 5 years and many films, exercises and films on both paths. So we start with so-called factories. We call them documentary factory and fiction factory at the first year. And the students make a series of exercises which end up with the first year film. Talking fiction, it's one take exercise, it's dialogue scene exercise, like 3 or 4 minutes. Then so-called sequence, which is a group of scenes centered around some main scene, and then 8 to 10 minutes fiction film at the end of the first year course. Then we have second year course, which was introduced 2 years thanks to efforts of some professors, and we kind of repeat the teaching from the first year on some deeper level. In this case, students either propose or get 10 to 15 minutes script, and they work upon this script all year long, and they shoot it in May or June, and this is the second year. Then comes the third year film, and it's original screenplay, usually by the students. Then the fourth and the fifth year is, let's say, a diploma film, which is 30 to 40 minutes. We are going to limit it because of, not only for budget reasons, but for some better reasons. And the examples of these diploma films you could watch tonight. These were Kalina's and Clara's films, The LEFFEST' Wanderers and The Tenants. I think that I should make the long thing short and come to some conclusion. I promised to make a statement about competitions. I wanted that.
Okay, you can do that.
Thank you. I'm very much against competitions, especially between young ones. I think it's the worst side of the festivals. The good side is meeting people, talking, which we can do here, thank you. But especially in the field of film education, you have films from the first year and diplomas, and 5 years in the lives of young people is history. You know it better than myself, although I'm also a graduate of my school. So let's talk films, and thank you.
Okay, of course, we can discuss this topic afterwards. Is it a positive thing to have a winning film today? We can speak about it later on, but now let's stick to the script, and please tell us about your film. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Kalina, and I made the film Restless Wanderers, and this is my diploma film. And along with my thesis that I'm working on right now, I will graduate, hopefully, from the school soon, in a few months. And yes, I wrote it and I directed it, and yeah, that's about it, I think.
What's the camera you used, and did you have money from the school?
Yes, we got a budget, and also apart from the budget, we also got, like, there was a little contest in a school, and we applied our scripts, and some of us won some additional money for the film, and I won some additional money for the film, so that was really good.
So you can write and direct. You don't have a writer? And then
We do have writers, but I like writing myself.
And the school allows you to do that?
Of course, yes,
Okay.
they are.
Okay, thank you so much. And let's be the Portuguese. Let's keep the Portuguese for last, and let's welcome the Tisch School. Can you please speak a little bit about your school?
Hi, my name is Andrew McLean. I'm a professor, an assistant arts professor at Tisch School of the Arts in New York University. First, I just want to say thank you very much for having us here. It's been really wonderful to come here, and Lisbon and Portugal are beautiful and amazing, and your food is superb. So thank you for that.
And could you please tell people that you already voted so they could...
Yes. And there's only two of us here from New York are actually Americans, and we both voted before we came here, so no matter what happens tomorrow, it's not our fault. So, but fingers crossed. Yeah. Tisch School of the Arts was started about 50 years ago, and the films program there was one of the very first film programs in the United States. And it has, from the beginning, it is really focused on personal filmmaking, as opposed to, say, the Hollywood filmmaking, the type of filmmaking which is more integrated into the large industry of filmmaking, which you find especially out in Los Angeles. The alumni reflect that, people like Spike Lee and Jim Jarmusch and Todd Solondz and so on. And what's that?
Chris Columbus.
Yes, Chris Columbus. And it's not to say that we don't have filmmakers who have gone into the industry, but the spirit and the heart of the program has really always been focused on developing the individual voice of a filmmaker. I think if there's a philosophy to the program, it's that we try to find people who have interesting stories to tell, and then we try to give them the tools in which to tell those stories, and also, as much as we can, an opportunity to tell those stories. The program is 3 years of classes, and then something similar to to WOTS is there's also a period after that in which you make, as you guys say, a diploma film, or what we call a thesis film. So in the first year of classes, the students will make 3 films. They'll make a 4-minute non-dialogue film, which we call an MOS, but isn't actually MOS. It's just sound without dialogue. After that, the students make a short. It's a documentary of sorts, but we don't call it a documentary. We call it an observational character study, because the focus is really more on observing human behavior, and as a way to take that into further narrative filmmaking work. And at the end of the first year, they make what we call the spring narrative film, which has dialogue, has actors, but it's a small film, a very circumscribed process. The next year, the second year, is a very important year in the program in which the students make a single film. They take all year to make a single 10-minute film. And in that, there's much less restrictions placed on it. There's much more freedom given to the students, to the filmmakers, and they experience what it is to dive as deeply as they can into making a single film. And at least a couple of the films that you saw up here today were a result of that, the second year film. In the third year, there's a continuation of classes, and it gets more. The students are more able to kind of define their own route, their own course of study in the third year. All through the first 2 years of the school, everybody is a writer-director. Everybody writes their own script, directs their own scripts. By the third year, people are starting to pick the paths. Most of our students still stay as writer-directors, but some go on, become cinematographers, some become editors, some focus on producing. And in that third year, some people make films, and Lizzie's film, for an example, was made in a class in her third year study, but I'll let her talk about that. And then after that, after the classes are over, there is a period of time in which they're asked to make one more film, and this film is one in which they're free to shoot wherever they want to, whenever they want to, with the crew size that they want. They get to define that film largely themselves. And the films that result are of all different sizes, shapes, and colors and all that. We have films as short as like 5 or 6 minutes, and then we also have feature films that have come back as thesis films.
Where does the money come from?
The money primarily comes from the students themselves. It's a very expensive program, and it's a very expensive process. As much as we can, the school tries to help students with scholarships. There is allotments that are given for each film, but it's very common for the students to spend much more than the allotment is, and they have to raise the money themselves for that. Sometimes through student loans, sometimes through family members, however they can do it. And it's maybe one of the more difficult aspects, I think, of the program, the financial aspects of it, for sure.
And do you work on digital media?
Yes. I was a student. I went through the program myself a number of years ago, and when I did, we were still primarily working on film, but that's changed over the years. There is still at least one of the films that the students make, the very first one, the MOS film, the non-dialogue 4-minute film, is still shot on actual celluloid film. Mm-hmm. It's shot on 16 millimeter, and then worked on in black and white.
Okay, thank you. Yes, could you pass the microphone to your students, please?
Sure.
Yeah, my film was in a room below with the guy who's has the neighbors above him. I made that film was my second year film, which Andrew was talking about, and was made, certainly on the cheaper side. In that I didn't use any other money. I managed to get in cheaply for the budget, and had a small crew of sort of 3 or 4 people, and obviously it was quite contained, so reasonably straightforward in that sense. That's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Greg, we actually hold up as an example to students of what you can actually accomplish for very little money. Yeah, and how much you can achieve with just the very basics of the cinematic language. And I'm sure he maybe gets some grief from other students about it, from being held up as that example so much.
I'm Elizabeth, and my film was Blueprint, and that film was made during my third year at NYU, and it was in a class that, so in the third year, there are a number of classes that are collaborations between different departments at Tisch. So this was a class that was a collaboration between the grad film program and the production design program. So in that class, we were paired with production designers, a costume designer and a production designer. And so that was really the focus of the class, was to exercise that muscle and really put our resources into that. So the class was sponsored by a foundation where the funding came from for these films. And then also in the third year, the resources as far as cameras that are available to us are different than they are in the second year and the first year. So this was shot on a red camera from the department.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bao. I'm the director, writer, actor of Blooming Night. And this year, this film is from second year film, and I went back to China and in Shanghai and I shot it. But the reason that I really act myself is it's so hard to find good Chinese young actor right now. The most popular one is all those with a really plastic surgery face. And so it's just so hard. That's why I decided to really act myself. So the reason that I really want to make this film is I found, I want to shoot something about my city. That's where I'm born. And also I really focusing on the kind of underworld, underground life of those transgender and gay people, and also I want to show the loneliness of young guys. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. So, and cinema school from Lisbon, José, quer?
My name is José Bucalheiro. I am the director of the film department of the film school in Lisbon. We are an official state school. Like all the Bologna programs, we have 3-year course divided in 6 fields: the practical in screenwriting, directing, production, and cinematography, sound, and editing. My Greek Latin education don't allows me to speak correctly in English, so
if we did this in French, José,
so I let the students to.
Okay, José, thank you so much. Yeah, the films have been, from what I understand, there's a film from the first year, the second year, and the third year. So could you please give the context of the production of that film, speaking a little bit of the school too? Okay, Pedro, you can start.
Okay. So, like Professor José said, it's a 3-year course, and I'm here representing the film from the first year. I'm now in the second year, but this film was made in the first year, and mine was called A Boy's Luck. It was the one about the boy who loses his lucky shoes. And okay, about the academic context. Okay, so we get together in small groups of producers, writer, and director. In our case, we were 4 people. We had 2 producers, and 1 person writing it. And
it's called a creative triangle in our school, right?
Yes, and exactly. And then we will go to we do a pitching, like a presentation where we try to convince the teachers that our film should be made. And so our film was selected and we made it, and it's, I don't know, it's interesting watching it here because it's now been, the movie was made about half a year ago, and I haven't seen it for a long time, and I guess I can see more clearly now, like those little mistakes we make in the movie, but
And also the nice things, no?
yes, yes, and yes, but I think I'm really proud of the process we had, and I think we all should be. I don't know.
Okay. Something that you didn't tell about is that we have a financial support. Oh, sorry. My name is Angela. I'm the director of Committing, the film of drag queens. And something he didn't talk about is we have financial support from ICA, which is a Portuguese institution. The budgets are different. From year to year, yeah. And I was in the second year, and in the second year we had to make a film in a studio. I don't know what to talk about, but I'm really proud of my team because it was a really strong work team. The idea came from the screenwriter, and then we developed that in a really strong work team again. But yeah, but it was really great, and it was a really nice experience. So that's it, I think.
So in the first year, you have a microphone there, right? Yeah. In the first year, you have to do a pitching, and everybody can be chosen to direct, right? In the second year, it's only people that went into. How come you were chosen to be director in the second year?
Well, we have to choose the area we want to be, but that depends on the marks we have too, I guess, because it's limited.
Okay. We'll understand later on. Okay, Bruno.
So I'm Bruno. I'm a former student from ESTC, just finished in 2015. So I'm the director and co-editor of Hora de Bai, which is the documentary that you've seen in the ending of the session.
The only documentary, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. So the story behind this project is this: due to the circumstances, I did not get the chance to direct a movie while I was studying at the STC. So at the last year, we had this course, which was institutional films, and I took that chance because it was like just a free course that you could assemble the team if you wanted to, and if the people wanted to work with you. So I got that chance, and I ended up subverting the purpose of the exercise, so to speak. So it was to focus on an institution and just trying to like do a film about that institution. So. There was one thing that I really wanted to talk about. I live in the outskirts of Lisbon, which is something that is a bit frowned upon. If you live in Lisbon, if you live in the greater area of Lisbon, and one thing that I really wanted to do was to focus on the different aspects of life in terms of the multicultural richness and the life of people that lived on those surrounding neighborhoods in Lisbon. By midway of the project, I ended up understanding that in terms of scope and in terms of time, it was impossible to do that as a film school. So we ended up just focusing on one of the stories that seemed like really powerful and really urgent to talk about, which was the demolition of this neighborhood that you saw, which is 6 de Maio, which is a shanty town in the outskirts of Amadora. So it was a really hard process. Physically and emotionally, it was pretty devastating at times. But I think it was worth it. It was something that I would, in a heartbeat, do all over again. And I'm really happy about the way it turned out, and what we did. I'm really proud of it.
Thank you, Bruno. Andrew, do you have documentary in Tisch School?
We do have documentary. It's not the focus of the program. There is the one curricular film that everybody does, the OCS, or the character study. And that's the only foray into documentary that's required of all the students. There is at least one other class that you can take in the third year called documentary studies, in which the students will develop and will usually develop and shoot a documentary through that class. But that's about it.
Okay.
That is, unless they go on to make something, especially for their thesis. And I think Lizzie might be able to talk about that, because I think she is making a documentary for her thesis.
Please do.
Yeah, I found that in the first year, the character study project was one of the most influential for me. And that class is really meant to be used to develop your process in narrative filmmaking. But there are a couple of other opportunities later on in the program to continue down the documentary line. And it's not as popular. I don't think a lot of people go into this program to focus on documentary, but it's certainly an opportunity is there. And I've found that working in narrative and in documentary, like, they each kind of have supported my work in the other area. So the film that I'm working on now is my thesis project, and it started as a documentary, and now it's sort of becoming more of a hybrid narrative, not fiction, nonfiction.
Okay, interesting. So it's open to the audience. Does anyone want to know more of any of these films, or understand better the functioning of each school? Anybody?
I really would like to know how much you get to make your films, because I know how much we get to make your ours. I would like to make a comparison, if you don't mind.
So let's speak about real money. Not just like money, but real money.
I have to call my boss. Actually, we are. I will not give you exact numbers, because the markets are different, and you can buy more in Poland than in the US, and vice versa, maybe, for something. We are lucky ones because we are state-funded, so we have this strange algorithm from the Ministry of Sciences and Education, which comes from the number of faculty, from our artistic achievements, from the number of students, blah, blah, blah. Then some money comes from our version of ICA, the Portuguese Institute. We have a Polish Film Institute, and they give us some money yearly for production. The budgets raise from the first year up to the diploma. Some exercises are just for nothing. Some are well financed comparing to some other schools. I would say that there are advantages and disadvantages of this situation. We are like Rolling Stone. It's a huge mechanism, 70 years, big faculty, huge production of many departments. They would kill me back home if I did not mention that we have camera, editing, script writing, acting, production, animation. So it's not that easy to say, thank you for the money, we can achieve more for less money, but I can see that this fact that we have stable financial situation, not much, but stable one, plus some professional crew at the school, might be regarded as something educationally wrong, because our students are kind of given something just at the beginning. I can see, watching the films here, and not only here, that you may make wonders for nothing. So these are just two different paths. I don't know which one is better, might be depending on the student. Kalina.
No, I think it's easier to make wonders for money, and with money. And for the film that I was showing here, I got like I had to add the 2,000 euro to make it like happen, to shoot it and to edit it. So I had to it was a bit of my money and a little bit crowdfunding, but that was it. The rest was really good money, I think, because that's the biggest budget for the thesis film in our school.
But to be honest, we don't have to rent the equipment. We have cameras, we have editing facilities, so you have to add this to the sum mentioned by Kalina.
I think that's it from us.
Yeah, I think that last point I think is definitely true. So it's kind of complicated to try to figure out the value of the things that are provided in addition to the cash, which are the equipment, the camera sound, the grip packages, as well as all the editing and the post facilities that are made available to students. And if you add that up, it comes to quite a lot, which is something you find when you get out of school and all of a sudden you have to pay for all that yourself. But that said, there is we don't have any state funding at all, or at least not directly in the same kind of way, and so the amount of help that we're able to provide to students is really not that substantial in terms of like the cash allotments. I think for the second year film, it's $1,500 for the film in addition to the equipment and whatnot, and then for the thesis, there's an allotment of $5,000. And I think there's other films get either smaller allotments usually than that. The film that Lizzie made was made under special circumstances because it had a dedicated funding that came from a foundation.
Okay.
I hope that answers.
José, do you want to speak about how much? Do you want to share how much money you had for your film, Raquel? Speak louder, please, or take the microphone.
I would rather speak louder.
Okay.
I think Angela should explain it because she was in the triangle, but I think it wasn't above 50 euros.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry.
200, yeah.
Sorry.
No, for mine, yeah, for mine it was 200, and for Pedro it was.
I think it was about 200? 100. Yes, it was 100. Because, yes, since it's like the more you get further in the course, the more money you get for your films, basically. So.
Except for the documentary, you get.
Yeah, documentaries you only have. It's worldwide. I think that everybody thinks that documentaries don't cost money. It's a strange conviction.
It's 50 euros.
50 euros?
50, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Grzesio, may I? At the end of the day, everything goes down to the money, but there are things that you can't buy for money. And for instance, I could see in the Portuguese films, in many of them, something which is different from the other ones, like maybe thanks to your Greek, Latin education, some wider perspective in terms of culture, politics, social issues, Even in such an experiment in blocking or mise-en-scène or one-take exercise like the film in the mental institution, if we treat it as a metaphor, it's something about, I don't know, Portugal, maybe something else, but it can be
that film is not from this school, though.
Yeah, I know, but
okay.
Are we among only Lisbon people? No. I could see this in the hidden one, for instance, easily. You know what I mean. It can be bought for money.
Yes, that's a long discussion. What's the relation between talent and money, and if we need money to make good films, or if we need the lack of money to do good films? And it's kind of endless. But anyway, does anybody else have a question from the audience? Yes, please. Go ahead.
It's for the documentary film. I participated in a movie before coming here that was shot a fiction, and we had to find a place to shoot it that was post-removal, post-removal for the Olympics. Not for the Olympics, but it was a space that it was poor neighborhood that suffered removals, house removals. Yeah, just like what you're documenting, but we were trying to make fiction, and then we went to the locations to try to find a perfect place to do it. And we were a lot of times thinking about making a documentary out of that, and about what was the impact that doing this film as a fiction about our idea was people going back to the places after the removal, like in some sort of absurd way, like their houses, like just like little things left,
yeah.
But about the relations of the people to the space. And then we are now sending to festivals, and I want to know from you, what do you think it's like the possible impact of these films that show, in our case, it's like you can see the removal happening, like because of the Olympics, like all the area where we shot it were like being transformed in order for the media not to.
And your question is exactly what?
Yeah, what's the impact that you think that his film can have about giving the reality of these people, like what's the power of cinema, and which festivals he managed to get in the film? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, in terms of impact on the neighborhood itself, it amounts to zero. It didn't have any impact because the neighborhood doesn't exist anymore. So it really didn't change a thing. Our main concern in doing this was to dignify the people that live there. I remember that the first time that we arrived in the neighborhood, and I was just talking to some of our colleagues outside about this, they were really wary of us because the experience that they have with cameras was mostly with reporters. And what reporters did in that neighborhood was basically to dehumanize the people, to treat them like second-rate citizens, to strange people that were illegally living in that space. And our main concern, I can tell you, was to establish a relationship of trust with those people, to get them to trust us, to get them to let us portray them in a dignifying manner, you know. But we did not have any type of illusions that we could, in some way, help these people with this issue in terms of going to the authorities and convince them not to demolish the neighborhood. That was really never our idea, you know. In terms of festivals that might actually accept this type of films, well, actually, it's mostly run in Portugal. There was a documentary festival in the United States where it premiered, actually. I'm really not sure about the feedback that it received there, but I hope that if it helps the people, and if it helps those people that really accommodated us for those months that we were there, that treated us like a family almost, everything that we can do in terms of helping them, I think it's positive, and I would definitely like that this film might help him in that sense. I don't know if this answered your question or yeah.
Do you think it does? You know, do you think showing this film and you think we can help them?
Realistically, in festivals, maybe in a certain type of festivals, I don't know, but it would probably help people a lot to have a social media, to have a media that actually treated people like human beings. That's much more important and effective than any type of documentary that you might do, in my opinion. To have an unbiased media that really is there to sort things out, not to take sides, okay, and basically to treat people like human beings. That's much more effective than any film that you might do, in my opinion.
Thank you, Bruno. So we don't have much time left, and so probably I think that it would be nice to kind of discuss what Piotr suggested. Is it okay to have competition between film schools, films produced in schools? Andrew, do you want to talk about, do you have an opinion on that, or Elizabeth?
Well, I do have an opinion about it because I have a similar opinion that you expressed, but my thought is more about within a film school, not so much in this context, but within a film school, the one challenge I think that every school probably confronts is how to give space, a safe space for each artist to learn about themselves and their own process and the stories they want to tell, and exercise these tools without competing against each other. Because I find that to be counterproductive, and so I feel like, you know, as much as possible, I don't think there are any formal structures within NYU that create competitiveness amongst students, but informally it certainly exists. And I find that's always like a conversation we're having amongst ourselves as students, and I've had with faculty as well, about how do we create more of a safe space to create art and not feel like we are trying to be the best or better than anything or anybody else.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I have a similar opinion actually to Piotr. I understand the need in some ways for competition, because I think we have a system and a media system and that's built around winners and losers, or it's built around winners, and so the competition becomes a way to give one of the films raise it up higher into the spotlight and maybe help that filmmaker to break through and to raise money, or so. There is, I can understand and appreciate what can benefit from something like that. If there's no winners, then somehow the financiers don't know who to lavish the money and so on and so forth on. But I do feel that it can be distracting in so many ways. And I feel that if there is a competition in cinema, I don't think it's between any of the films that were shown here. I don't think it's between the filmmakers who take part in this. I think it's between all of these filmmakers and a culture that doesn't respect individual voices and doesn't respect a real commitment to the art, to the craft, to the voices that need to be heard. And I think that's where the real competition is. It's not amongst these films. And I've been to festivals and I've been on kind of both sides of it, and I can see what happens on a festival on closing night when the winners are announced and they're sort of whisked into another room, and then those who didn't win are sort of left, and there's a kind of deflation that comes from it, which I think is it's unfortunate in a lot of ways, because it should feel like a celebration. It should feel like people should have a positive feeling, I think, from these situations.
Well, in fact, we are going to announce the prize in about 5 minutes. So I have to give my opinion because I've been doing this encounter for 3 or 4 years, and the films that won the prize actually were supported. I would call this not as much as a prize, like the best film in the festival produced by a school, but somehow a film that deserves support. And I think that's the way I see it, at least. And ultimately, what this festival does is something that no other festival, at least in Portugal, does, which is to make people pay attention to the teaching of cinema. And this is the way that this festival found to do it. I have got nothing to do with the organization, okay? I'm not telling it. I'm just saying that, nevertheless, and I truly respect Piotr's opinion, and I want you to speak because I know you want to. Nevertheless, I think we can be happy afterwards.
I had something.
Yes, of course.
I want to give some strong support to Lizzie. Yeah. This in-school competition may be real pain, and it's somehow supported by the system of winners and losers, prizes, festivals, also Bologna system. We have to give marks for the films or for the process, which is better. But I think we have to limit this in film schools, in any schools actually. It's difficult, but there are schools like Lillehammer where they don't show films outside the school until the end of the 3rd year of studies. We can consider this. But what's important, competition or not competition. Jewish people have some term tikkun olam, in free translation is to make the world a better place to live, to make the world better. And I could see this in your films here. So I think this section is really successful and wonderful. And I'm going to thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the films.
Thank you. Is anybody having a strong opinion that want to share just to close? Yeah, because we have 2 minutes. We still have time.
I think it's kind of demolishing sometimes when people. Obrigado. It's because I think as film students and people who want to make films for a living, we rely very much in film festivals. And it's the only way for us to express ourselves and show our work. And I think that most of the times we make good films as we think they are good films and they don't enter in film festivals. And then there's this question of awards, because I think that prizes and awards are very, very tricky. I don't think they give you real things, because an award is always for a film. There's a selection of films, and the jury. Sometimes the jury don't have this homogeneous opinion about the selection. So the film is always like a common discussion. And okay, you don't like this film, but I like it very much. But I like this one, and they choose. Then I think that people get very enthusiastic about these things of prices, and the most important thing is that we have this opportunity to express ourselves. And I think I worked with Angela in Camarim, and it's a very great thing for her to show this film here. And I think that's the most important thing. It's not winning this prize, because I know this prize is very good, and if we win, we have the opportunity to show in film cinemas and whatever. But I think that the worst thing is that the only way for us to get in this world of cinema is going through film festivals. And there's in Portugal, I think that we make a lot of films. There's a lot of film schools, a lot of festivals, but a lot of people makes good films and they don't get into the films. And I think in the festivals, and I think the problem is that we take festivals and prizes very, I think, too seriously, and that's the problem. I think the most important thing is to show ourselves.
Thank you, Bruno. Well, I think that there is a rule saying that there are no bad questions, there are just bad answers. And probably we can think that the system is like this, and probably it depends on what the person who receives the prize does with it. And that also has an importance of its own on the fact that there is such a thing as a prize. The fact is, there is a prize, there was a jury. Thank you for your work in watching all these films. And Paulo is going to announce the winning film. Thank you so much. Paulo Branco, the director of the festival.
Thank you for being here, all of you. You know that every year we invite 3 schools. Some of them is the second time are here. And at the same time, we invite the schools that were here to join us in the competition to send one short, each of them. And that's what happened this year. That's why there are so many shorts that were shown. And the jury decided this year to give a mention and the prize. And the mention is for a film by Paul Ella. It's a film from the INSAS, Belgium, by Valentina Morel. And the prize winner was already as well a woman who won, and they want me to tell that the 2 prizes are 2 women that won. It's The Sleeping Saint by Laura Samani from the Centro Sperimentale de Cinematografia. This is the prizes, and I just have to thank you. And I hope next year you send as well if there is a festival next year, because this festival you never know what happens the day after. If you want no prizes, there is no problem. Now we are going to show a short by Lola Peplo that was on the jury with the judge. Now it's you to judge her, and seeing the movie. And for them, for the ones that don't know, we are showing a film by Samuel Beckett at 7:30, and I think it's worthwhile to see it. And there is a discussion with this great actress called Nicoletta Braschi that is playing in the Os Dias Felizes by Beckett tomorrow and after tomorrow, and she's coming here to speak about Beckett, and after the film of Samuel Beckett. I hope you can see it, because it's really with Buster Keaton, I can tell the film. And thank you, all of you, and enjoy the rest of your stay in Portugal, and thanks for coming. And just to say that we are showing, like I told in the beginning, all the films except one of someone that started one of your schools, Jerzy Skolimowski, that is showing all this work here in the festival. And if you don't know the work of Jerzy Skolimowski, please go and see the films. Okay, thank you.